Welcome to the House of Ed Tech podcast. I am your host, Chris Nesi. The House of Ed Tech explores how technology is changing the way teachers teach and the impact that technology is having in education. I discuss technology that is changing our classrooms and schools, and I share tools and tips that you can hear today and use tomorrow. You're going to hear the stories of teachers, leaders, and creators just like you. The purpose? Whether you use it or not, technology is changing the way you teach and how your students learn. It's Saturday night. It's 10 o'clock. It is December 5th, 2020, and the House of Ed Tech is ready to take you from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock on the last night of ISTE. That's it. It's over. Thanks for coming. How's everybody doing? It's nice to be here for the 7th bonus episode of the House of Ed Tech, the 7th live stream. If you're joining us on Twitch, Periscope, or YouTube, please put a comment in the chat. Let me know where you are checking in from, who you are, and if you want to hop aboard and reflect on ISTE 2020, go to chrisnesi.com/join, and you can be a part of this live stream. Now, it's Saturday night. I understand that maybe this is not the most popular place to be. I get that. But I don't have anything else to do. I didn't have anything else to do all week. So that's why I schedule these in the evening, to give us an opportunity to get cozy, get reflective, and, think about what we learned each and every day. That was the purpose of these live streams. And I am really fortunate and super thankful for the people who came on during the week. We had a lot of great unscheduled guests. And if you missed any of those live streams, there's a couple of ways you can go back and check that out. You can, if you're listening to this on the podcast side, go back and listen to the bonus episodes that should have downloaded if you are subscribed. Now, if you're not subscribed to the podcast, go to chrisnesi.com/go, G-O, on your podcast catching device, and it'll take you to the place on your device where you subscribe to podcasts. If you want to watch the show, go to chrisnesi.com/YouTube, and you can see the playlist for ISTE 20 and, click the like button, smash the bell, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all those wonderful things. And you can see the different people and conversations that we had. We covered augmented reality, virtual reality. We talked about building culture and community in the classroom. We talked about gamifying your classroom this week. A lot of good stuff. Checking in on a Saturday night. What is up to my podcast compadre, AJ Bianco. Love you, buddy. Also co-host of Podcast PD and host of his own podcast, Reflect Ed. Very nice. Sharo, back in the house. Good evening to you. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate you being here. If you want to hop aboard, chrisnesi.com/join. And I want to reserve tonight, again, we're wrapping up, we're winding down. So some of the questions I want to throw out to you, and if you want to just comment in the chat, that's okay too. Also, if you don't want to turn your camera on, but you want to come on the show, you can disable the camera and just talk. I understand that not everybody has their best face on and is ready to show their face to the world on YouTube in a live stream. I get that, but I do it anyway. You see what I'm working with. Tonight's topic is very simple. Just a couple of questions. One, I want to know, what did you learn this week? What are you taking away from ISTE 20 that you're going to apply to your district, your school, your classroom? What was your big learning? You attended a number of virtual sessions. Hopefully you attended a number of these sessions, and maximized and got the most out of your attendance? What did you learn? How are you going to make it? How's it going to make a difference? How's it going to change your practice? Let me know in the chat. Call in chrisnessy.com/join. Would love to know. Also, ISTE is a big conference, and, it was, without going into too much explanation, we all understand why it was different this year. Okay. Pandemic, COVID, travel, not the robust in-person event that many of you have come to know, enjoy, and love over the years. It was what it was. And what do you do now? How did you get that same conference high that you would have gotten in person? We talked, might have been last night, might have been the night before, about how, ISTE did the best they could, creating a platform that provided value. Opportunity to chat with people, in-session chat boxes, gamifying the conference attendance. How'd that go for you? Did you get that same feeling? I tried to engage with people in the chat and, tried to connect with people through the different sessions that I kind of went into. But I'll tell you something that disappointed me. I don't know if anybody else had the same experience based on the state you live in, but one of the things they added in the chat was like a state chat. So like I said, whatever state, or maybe if you were international attendee, you might have seen the option to chat with people from your country. So for example, I was placed into a chat where I guess all the people from New Jersey were in a chat. Now, for many years, and almost as long as I've been an educator, over a decade, I've just, from observing and seeing all the great people that, are from New Jersey, I have always made the joke that, all the best education happens in New Jersey. No offense to the other 49 states, but it just seems like people who are really moving and shaking in education, more often than not, a lot of them seem like they're from New Jersey. Again, no offense to the other 48 states, 49 states. What am I? It's late, folks. The other 49 states and the rest of the world. No offense. But the New Jersey chat was dead. I'll be honest. The New Jersey chat in the ISTE thing was pathetic. All it was people coming in and saying what town they were from. And that was it, which I think is so lame. No actual connections that I could see other than saying what town you were from. I mean, I tried to start conversation and nothing really happened. Maybe it was me. I don't know. But did your state chat pump you up or let you down? What was your experience? Some things coming in on the live stream chat. Sharo says, has a couple of comments here. Hamish Brewer's keynote message was amazing. I did not get the chance to see that live. So if you want to come on and reflect on that and share the message of Hamish Brewer, I would certainly welcome that. I know he wears the hat, does the whole skateboard thing. He's got his shtick. But what was the message? I'm going to go back and watch it. But if you want to reflect live, what was the message? What did Mr. Brewer share in his keynote message? Cheryl also says, quote, "That is definitely what I will be taking with me. The energy, the courage, the resilience to keep going." Yeah. Just think of all the people who didn't go to ISTE who have to keep going and have energy and the courage and resilience to keep going. It's going to get brighter. I know it will. It's going to get better. Education will take a turn for the better because we'll make it do that. Even if I don't mean to get political, but even if we look at the last 4 years, yeah, a lot of people, bitch and complain about Betsy DeVos and, what she did. And I have nothing nice to say, but over the last 4 years, my job wasn't really impacted. Now, maybe other people's jobs were, but me personally, the last 4 years being a teacher, I still kind of did my own thing. So there you go. All right. Maybe I've incited and ruffled some feathers, but we got a couple of callers. So let me bring some people.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Cheryl. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't show my face. It's like 8:10 in the evening here and probably 10 past 10. So tired from, very tired from just staying online and watching all the wonderful videos, live or recorded, and trying to make up with the points. Our dear Stephanie is top one, and I'm part of her team Unicorn. So we're so happy we completed our points. So hopefully that will show in the final count. But anyway, going back, Chris, to what you're saying, I think one of the quotes that I got from Hamish Brewer is that you got to walk more when it is harder and tougher. And I think I personally and many educators have felt that since March. I mean, being a teacher already is very tough and very hard during this time, but I think it got more highlighted when pandemic came into the picture. We have witnessed a lot of, inequality with regard to resources, also access to resources and materials, to devices, and even just the knowledge base of, many educators with regard, how can I teach in a virtual online learning environment? It's very different. I'm fortunate I have that background because I've done, I was part of a team before where we developed our own virtual school, even if it was just for a couple of years, but still that experience is memorable because it made me ready and I was able to help my team be ready, aside from them bringing, their expertise into this kind of situation. But many teachers, it was something new. It was very different for them. So it was a huge transition.
Absolutely. Definitely a huge transition. And, when you think about it, people like you and me and, other people who enjoy a conference like ISTE, a lot of us were able to, flip that switch. And, I know my teachers and colleagues told me, they're like, Nessie, you've been training for this forever, like to go teach online with the technology and, engaging students. And to some degree, yes, many of us had tools and, things we could do, but the practical application has been challenging, even for, someone like me. It's some days have been a struggle. Have you experienced that as well?
Oh, absolutely. There were days when, I felt like, I'm just going to borrow the word, like I'm a Disney person. I got to bring my Disney game on. When I'm in front of teachers providing training, I need to, push in the back seat, all the stress, all the, problems, so to speak, all the issues. And in front of the teachers, I have to be positive, happy, not toxic, positive, but, you got to be the motivator, like, yay, we can do this. You're awesome. And we have a lot of resources we can utilize. So you're going to be great in your virtual online learning environment. But there's still that sense of, oh my goodness, we got to get ready. There are like thousands of emails that you have to answer. There are like technical issues you have to address, but you got to be resilient, and I think I'm grateful for that, that with I come from poverty. So I got trained early, so to speak, never to give up and to be resourceful. Find ways. If there is a problem, start looking for solutions, and never give up. And just put your brave face on and get going.
Now, if I may ask, Cheryl, you might be new to people who are watching and, people who are listening on the podcast side. Where are you from? What is your role in education? Give us a little insight into who you are and what you do.
Well, this is so much fun. So I'm an immigrant. I'm from the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines, born and raised there, came to the United States as a teacher, and now I'm a director. Again, talk about coming from poverty and being resilient. So now I'm a director of the active learning department in El Paso, Texas. And really in the forefront, what I'm doing is making sure that from my humble beginnings, I always make a priority what is best for the kids. That is my priority. I've been in the classroom for many years, and I've been in education for 23 years. So, always the goal is to serve the kids, from those pre-Kers all the way to 12th grade. And sometimes I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but it's not always about the adults. We're successful human beings right now. Yes, we have our struggles, but we're pretty much set. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to retiring, a few more years, and I'm ready to go. But our children are not, and we owe it to them. We got to prepare them. We have to make them understand that life is beyond just measurements and tests and assessments. They need to be really good human beings, and they need to take care of each other. They need to create, produce, be productive, but also still have that human touch, so to speak.
Sharo, you are talking my language. You are preaching to the choir that is me.
Yes.
Wonderful words. All right, and before I let you go, for people who want to connect with you, what's the best way that they can do that if they want to continue to chat with you and learn from you?
I'm very active in Twitter. I'm a big Twitter person. So if you go, my Twitter handle will be @Sharo Dickerson. So I can type that in the chat, right? So
yeah, you can, sure.
Dickerson, it's right there. So follow me on Twitter, connect. And we continue our advocacy of making sure that all students are successful, all our kids are successful, especially those who are from poverty, who are, struggling because of inequity. So that is my focus.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on and sharing.
Not a problem. Thank you, Chris. And I'm a fan, so I'm sharing your podcast to my people here in El Paso, Texas, and also in the Philippines. So they're being very excited to follow you. Definitely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the show.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Next up.
Oh, hi.
Arlene.
Hello. Yeah, wow, Sharo, you're from the Philippines. I'm in the Philippines right now, and it's been, I could say I'm on a high from ISTE, but that's what ISTE does, even if it's, doesn't matter what format it is. And I really resonated with what everyone has been sharing regarding doing the best for our kids, especially given how the situation has made access even more difficult for all sectors. And not just for the kids, but also for the teachers. And that's one of the things that I appreciated about this kind of platform. It's because it really connected me to other educators who may have had more access to information, to resources, to ideas, most importantly, because you can't do it on your own. You have to reach out, you have to connect, and we have to model that to our students as well. And I actually discovered your podcast because of ISTE, so I wish I had discovered it, but here we are.
And here you go. Now you're on the show, so that's awesome, and that's a lot of fun. So real quick, Arlene, what do you do in education? What grades do you teach? What do you do?
All right. So I used to handle 6th grade until high school. I was a home economics teacher and a research teacher. I was a working student. I worked as a tutor. But now I wear a couple of hats. So I'm an edtech specialist for a local publishing company, and it's Phoenix Publishing House who paid for my conference. So full disclosure. And right now my main hat is to be the R&D consultant. And we were at ISTE to present our poster on coding plus PBL. And I was so happy to see the likes of Gitanjali and Ria, because these are kids that I can show our kids and say, look, this is basically what they're doing is stuff that you can also do. It's just a matter of making sure that you have access to the opportunities and to the resources that they have. And I was really excited to see esports. I don't know if you're a gamer or what, but I was very excited to see it because for the longest time we've been trying to introduce gamification, game-based learning, and the benefits of esports to our schools. But it's not everyone's thing, and without the research to back it up, I can't just tell them, hey, let's do this in the classroom and see if it works. But that's why I was very appreciative of different panels and some of the student presentations as well, because they really showed us that it's really a sport and there are a lot of benefits to it. And the technology should not be a hindrance. It should not stop you, because if you don't, I'm sorry, I forgot at the top of my head the name of the poster presenter, but this guy is saying that, hey, I don't have money, but look, I'm doing this, so let that not stop you.
Yeah, no, money definitely in education, while it can be a hindrance, it doesn't have to stop you. There's so many free resources out there and people that you can connect with on Twitter or Instagram, or just go Google search and find people that you can connect with. Now, you mentioned you did a poster session related to PBL and what else?
And coding.
And coding. So I'm a huge fan of project-based learning. And in case you couldn't figure it out, I'm also a huge fan of technology, of which coding is a part of that. And one of my favorite things to do every year is the Hour of Code. And that's coming up, I think, this week, I believe. Can you give us a taste of what your poster session was, some resources you shared, and how you connect coding and project-based learning?
Definitely. So I mentioned that I'm the R&D head, and we came up with a coding education program that was natively integrated across the curriculum. So we know that teachers don't have time to learn everything that they want to integrate in the classroom, and the learning curve for some of the things that we do in coding is a bit steep. So we also work with economies of scale. So we're able to bring coding to schools who might not have decided to invest in microbits or in all these other technologies. And for our poster, we featured the different projects and most of them were aligned, or rather targeted, selected United Nations SDGs. And more of the shots, most of the pictures in the poster were from our event, which we held last January before the pandemic hit. And you have the likes of fifth graders using training models on MBlock to create there were seventh graders, to create a garbage disposal unit that uses computer vision, so that lazy people who don't want to recycle just toss their trash and it's going to get segregated. And we also had a team who did a smart clean, and it was uncanny because we had no idea about. I know Ria is a big deal, but we at the time back in 2018 when we were starting this, we had no idea who she was. And so when Ria came out and she's a CEO of Smart Gang, and all of us back home were like, hey, that's a project that our kids did, and it's in our poster, and it's called Tactile Walking Interactive Guardian, or TWIG. And again, that was something that they created just after a few hours of learning the microbit, but it took them beyond that. So after they created TWIG, for the following semester, they refined it and they used what they learned from that experience. And the way that we integrate coding is that we plan a lot. We do a lot of planning and collaboration with the teachers. So before school begins, or before the school year begins rather, we sit down with them and we run workshops and we figure out what is your direction. We've noticed some patterns as well. So we have schools who prefer more of the digital storytelling, interactive kind of flavor of coding, and we have schools who are heavy into prototyping and physical computing. And I'm very happy that this school year we have one more school who signed up, and they want to go into data. So they want to teach Python to kids like grade 5, and they're looking to develop that data track to complement their already existing their web, mobile, and robotics tracks. So that's pretty exciting. At the same time, quite challenging given what's going on right now.
But it's the good kind of challenging, and certainly the benefits outweigh any issues that you guys might have. It's going to put so much, for lack of better words, cool information and skills into the hands of students in so many places. So that's all fantastic.
Yeah, and we'd like to invite those who still have access to their totes to download the apps. So we actually posted the QR codes, and these are sample apps that we share to our students. So when they're learning App Inventor, they can look at these apps, they can remix them, and it also makes it easier for us to get the teachers on board. You would show them, hey, these are like sample stuff that your students might be able to make. How do you think this can help with the competencies that you have to target? Or you can say something like, I see that you have less academic time because of screen time concerns or because of the way that your curriculum is structured in your area. So perhaps you'd like to consider these kinds of coding projects and do PBL instead of your usual requirements that have, instead of just merely digitizing your requirements like your essays or your book reports, why not, look at some of these? And we have to sell that idea, we have to create, these samples, these prototypes, and they're not necessarily that polished, but they are enough to give students and teachers a taste of what is possible. And actually our hashtag is ACE possible. So we hope that it catches on, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Nice. Well, make sure that in the chat, make sure you put the hashtag, promote that stuff.
Okay.
And please in the private chat here on StreamYard, put in the URLs to all of your stuff that you want to share. And then I will put them so everybody will be able to click on them.
Cool. So I just have to look for them now.
On the right-hand side, you should see the private chat.
Oh,
and there, yep. Add all those URLs, and I will get them out into the stream so people can click on them. And I will also include them in the description for this when the YouTube video is done and when I release this as an episode of the House of Ed Tech. So everybody will be able to find that information. And Arlene, as you're doing that, how can people connect with you? Are you on Twitter? How can people get to you?
I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but I'm not on Twitter. But I am on Instagram. I'll drop my handle in the chat box as well. I'm at Ninja10 because I like Doctor Who. And that is my tech Instagram. I have another Insta account for my crafts stuff. Yes, so my guilty pleasures. But yeah, I'm going to drop it in the chat box. And I'm also going to put the Facebook page where you can see all these other projects because what we showed at ISTE was limited by the 3 megabyte cap for posters. So we weren't able to show all the kids' works, but I'm sure that the kids will love it if you could drop by our Facebook page and let us know how we can improve and what kinds of projects are you looking forward to. We're doing game dev and app dev this semester, and we started school late, but had we opened on time. We would have been able to show even more outputs, especially since we're dabbling now into AI, since they already did some machine learning.
Nice. So yes, get that all in the chat. And before I let you go, Arlene, you said you're in the Philippines, so I just have to ask one. I know it's for me tomorrow. So what's the weather in the Philippines on December 6th, 2020?
Not as hot as it was the other days, but still not cool enough for me given that it's December. So yeah, it's not rainy, so that's a good thing. We just went through 3 typhoons, and we're literally lucky to be alive. So it's actually sad, and I just want to use this to tell everyone to please help or pray or support the towns and the provinces that were affected, especially Cagayan. So it's like, it's a lot of people and a lot of lives. And we have schools we have a big school there who was they have a coding program, and some of the inventions that we featured were from that school. And it was heartbreaking to see like pictures on the news of the valley being flooded, and it's the same story in our other school in Bicol. Again, a very big school, and again we featured their project, and had it been easy to bring student presenters, would have done that. But yeah, we hope that they all recover soon, and we send all our prayers and good thoughts to them.
Absolutely, thoughts and prayers definitely will before I go to bed. Absolutely, definitely, and everybody else, if you can support in any way, give what you can, do what you can. All right, Arlene, thank you so much for a few minutes here on the House of Ed Tech. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Thank you.
All right. And I will, let me quick copy and paste this stuff from her publicly. There you go. Links to the session and the poster board stuff. And, all right. Next up, all the way from the north of Jersey, Armando Johansson Bianco. What's up,
Wow.
AJ?
That's a new one for me. Armando. Hi there.
What's up, buddy?
Not much. Just figured I'd come on today and actually like come on and have a conversation. Now bring some comic relief. So.
Were you trying to be funny last night?
Yeah, I was on the bike and I'm sure that was awkward for people. But anyway, hi there. How are you? AJ, coming from North Jersey.
It's going good. It was a nice Saturday.
Let's focus on this stuff. So I heard your questions at the beginning. I'm going to be 100% honest. If you weren't doing these shows, I would have no idea ISTE was taking place. Okay.
Fair enough.
No idea. Because number one, you know, I think it's a little absurd to be having a conference at this time because there's so much going on. And teaching difficulties and responsibilities are incredibly difficult to begin with, that many people are kind of stuck just trying to figure out how to get their lessons across. And you're going to hold an online conference where people are trying to get offline. Anyway, that me being a little critical. The price, is there a price to this thing?
Yes, there was a price. I don't know what it was because I was able to participate as a member of the media. So it did not cost me anything.
Okay, so you're one of the lucky few, I'm sure. I feel, again, and I'm not trying to take a hit at ISTE, but you're asking for money in a time where schools are begging for money from their states just to get PPE. So you're asking a school or person to pay out of pocket to sit on their computer longer. And I'm a little turned off by that, to be honest.
I agree.
What was the fee?
I agree.
Do you know the fee off the top of your head? Was it upwards of $350?
Maybe
for the whole week.
Yeah, something like that. I saw a number like I think I saw 150 something, 170 something. Okay. I don't have the exact pricing structure.
Fair price for a week, but again, asking people for 175. Thank you, Arlene. I feel like asking for money. It's ballsy. It's ballsy. There's a lot of stuff going on. And hey, school, can you let me have almost $200 so I can sit on the computer?
That's true. I mean, and you figure even for me, I mean, if I attended virtually, I mean, let's say I was paying for this.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taking days off. I didn't take days off this week to sit in anything. You know, sure, everything started, you know, West Coast time, which is what's 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock here on the East Coast for us.
Right.
You know, 1 o'clock, my last class for the day is starting that I'm doing in a Google Meet.
Okay.
You know, so, and at that point, when my school day ends at 2:20, I've been sitting on the computer since 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
I get up, I have lunch, I got my boys home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know the story.
I know the story. Yeah.
But, you know, no day this week did I stay on the computer to do the ISTE sessions. I got up, I went, I played with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, I don't want to say I'm lucky, but my wife and my kids are in bed by 8:30. I'm doing these live streams at 10 p.m. Mm-hmm. So in that hour and a half, I'm going through and trying to do prep, not only for what I'm doing the next day at school, but trying to be able to put together a coherent program for this.
Right. Dig it. I love it. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the feedback of the people who are taking the time to take part in ISTE, and good for them. You know, I think, you know, when we're looking at teachers who are looking for their professional development, you know, it's good that they're being proactive and putting it out there, that they're learning and they're trying something new, or they're going to find a way to use this in a virtual environment or in the hybrid environment. You know, I just think things are very different right now, that I just get a little turned off by companies, you know, and I got to be honest, like just companies shooting me emails. Does your school need this? No, we need nothing. Textbook companies, time to renew. No, thank you. You know, like don't need to spend $30,000 on a textbook that we can't even use in classroom right now. So I'm not just saying this ISTE. I'm just kind of focused on a lot of the different players out there who are trying to take advantage of some of the schools. I feel like a lot of the companies did it right last year in March, you know, where they went free, you know, up until June. And some of the companies that said, you know what, we'll keep going. Unfortunately, not a lot of companies held on to that. And I understand it's a business model. You have to ask for money, but it's just so difficult begging for money right now and begging your schools for money when hundreds of thousands of dollars are going to PPE for large districts.
I think to my own district that, you know, there were tools that were being paid for and subscriptions were not renewed because that money had to be allocated for other things. You know, I'm sure my school is one of thousands of schools across the country and the world that every school district needs 10,000 Chromebooks yesterday. You know,
right?
Where's that coming from?
I understand that, but you know, this might be good that we're, you know, unfortunately for some of the companies, they're going to take hits, but I think for schools, they're going to realize, oh, we really didn't need to spend that much money on this program or this textbook. And then they can get things like Chromebooks and more in classroom technology or anything to help a virtual environment. I think that's the positive. And that's something I've been saying for months now, right? This is the positive we're going to see. We can teach without these tools. Hopefully.
No, you're right. If we think back to what Sharo said to kick off the program, there's a lot going on and we're going to do things differently. You know, a lot of what she pointed out, you know, with some of the negatives in education, that stuff has always been there. You know, you and I have been doing this long enough that we know all the dents in the armor of education, right? This has just shown a large, bright spotlight on it on a national level. Right. The inequity, connectivity, access. This has just magnified what's already been there. Yeah. Now it's time to fix it.
Right. And you know, and I don't want to knock anybody for taking their time to do PD, you know, good. Like I said, I appreciate people are doing that. Hopefully now they take this and hopefully the sessions allowed people to take ideas and go through. I'm tired of the same sessions over and over again. You know, pat in the back, here's what I do in my classroom. Now it's let's empower our students to do more. Let's empower our teachers to do more in their classrooms where they're struggling at this moment.
Yeah, I can speak to that because in the ISTE platform, you could go through the program of all the sessions, and I did a keyword search for podcasting, stuff like that. There were, I want to say, 9 to 12 sessions related to podcasting, content creation. That doesn't count the video stuff. I did a search for video, and there were way more sessions on doing video in education with your students, etc. Okay. Probably 60 or 70 sessions with video. But anyway, only like 9 to 12 sessions on podcasting. And I got to be a part of, go back and watch the replay of 4 of them. They were all basically the same thing. Okay. Which I will put it out there now. I want to put in a session for ISTE in 2021, virtual, remote, whatever. I'll figure out how to get to San Antonio. I have no shame. If you're an ed tech company and you want to sponsor the House of Ed Tech to get me to Texas next year, I'm all for it. And I want to bring podcast PD with me too. But the session I want to do, I want to title it The Only Podcast Session You Need to Attend with Chris Nesi. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'm not going to ask you for details because I don't want somebody to take it for you, but it's on the books right now, December 5th, 2020. Chris will be at ISTE. But no, that's good. So like the gentleman you had on your first show, his name is escaping me right now. And he was talking about podcasting and his ideas that he had in the book, right? So it's good. How to get students podcasting, right? I liked his ideas of writing the script, and it kind of throws in a lot of the curriculum in there. And that's great. I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is a session like, here's how you go to Anchor. Here's how you press record. Here's how you share it out to your students. Here's how you put it, public to the world. So
again, if you don't know how I feel, you know how I feel about Anchor.
Leave Anchor alone, please. Just leave it alone for right now.
Okay. All right. I won't turn this into, I'll put my soapbox away.
Yes. For right now.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I feel like at this point in our educational careers, I think the sessions that need to be introduced to teachers are not how-tos. It's more of why to. Why you should be doing this.
I like
why this is successcal. Why this is something that's going to last in education. I've been doing blended learning. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Yours.
I've been doing blended learning, flipped classroom things for years, and I always called it how to. And the reason I called it how to, because I straight up said this is an introduction to the flipped classroom, right? This is an introduction to blended learning. Now that we're in that model, my next one is not a how to anymore. It's now why we should continue this in a, God help us, please, in an actual classroom setting, The why. The why. No more how. We know the how. We've been doing the how now for 9 months. The why.
And that typically is, and you and I have done sessions on a number of topics. I will use the podcasting sessions we've done as the example. Mm-hmm. We always have to start with, why should you be podcasting with your kids?
Mm-hmm.
And we've always kind of believed, well, if you're in the session, you should kind of you should have an idea of why already.
Right.
We can give you, again, when it comes to podcasting and content creation, there's no one right, absolute way to do it. Okay. There's just best practices. But I love that you always push. This is where you're a pusher, AJ. You push because you're always questioning, hey, this is great. I get it. How can I get other educators or administrators to buy in, to understand what is the value? And I think you're more than right in asking that. Once people understand the value of podcasting or video or AR or gamification, the how you do it should be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's just strategies and things you can try. But you're right. We need to get more people to buy into why they should be trying certain things, or why we should continue with things that are working, and maybe give some serious consideration as to what are some things we can leave by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things we can stop doing?
That's the truth. That's the truth. I agree completely. And that's a lot of the questions I left for a lot of your guests this week was about buy-in, was about training, was about help, was about value, and for those who answer those questions, thank you. Hopefully the things you introduced are successful in schools. So Chris, to kind of go back to your questions that you asked in like the first 5 minutes of the show, you wanted people to come on and say what they learned. So since I'm only learning from you, and you've been kind of digging into the different materials and you've been looking at different people who've been presenting, what did you learn from your 6 days of presenting here in regards to ISTE? Time to be honest, it seems.
I've learned kind of what I just said, in that there's all the same people. I think this year's conference presented a unique opportunity for more people to get involved because it was virtual. Mm-hmm. So whether it was presenters you've never heard of, which I think is fantastic, because I get tired of seeing the same names and same faces at these things. So it's nice to be like, oh, who is that? Let me go see and let me connect with them. Also, I thought I'd like to see that virtual component. We mentioned this a couple of nights ago, that, you're going to have this in-person ISTE, it travels around the country, city to city, that's great. But I hope that there is this continued virtual component that people can be a part of it who can't get the hotel, get the plane ticket. Mm-hmm. And we can, here's one thing we can eliminate. Let's eliminate not at ISTE.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. It's amazing that hashtag's been going for so long and they've done nothing to accommodate those who are not at ISTE.
Yeah.
Still, I guess.
All right. We got some new people. So let's bring on some people.
You want me to stay?
Yeah, stay.
Hi.
What is up, Katie? And can I call you Dan?
Yeah, Dan, Daniel, either one.
What's up? Welcome to the House of Ed Tech.
Good evening. Hey guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're live callers. What do you got?
No, I was just listening in. I know, Chris, you came to our session earlier. It was good of you to drop by. We appreciate it. Nothing, just listening in. I think the perspective is interesting. AJ's perspective on sort of, that we're asking schools. I definitely felt, I agree a lot with what AJ was saying as far as we're asking schools to spend money on teachers to go do this kind of thing when we're struggling for, all of the other things that schools need to spend money on. My hope, I guess, in that, in being an optimist about it, is that we're spending money for teachers or tech coaches or division leaders to go to this kind of thing, that hopefully it has a positive impact. I hope that the sessions that I was able to attend this week impact my teachers in a positive way. It's a tough situation for everybody right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dan, sorry, Katie, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say I completely agree. And I also feel like, like I keep getting to go to all these conferences and some of my colleagues don't. And so I can only do the best to bring back to them what I can. And that made for some very long days this week. Like,
no doubt.
Because we're also East Coast. So, didn't get going till 1 p.m. And I wasn't going to take a whole week off. No. So I was still doing my normal work day until 1 and still working while conferencing until like 3:30 or 4, because I'm not going to have some kid's email hanging who's like trying to get in and, submit something and they can't get into whatever account. So it was a lot of multitasking. It was a very long week. I had quite a bit of ISTE fatigue at some points, but I am glad that I will have like 6 months to go back and look at some things. So that is nice, accessibility wise. But yeah, I kind of agree. A lot of the same how-to things and not a lot of the harder questions.
So what are your guys' roles in education? I'm just kind of curious because you said you're basically going to turnkey this for your colleagues and staff. So what are your roles in education? How are you guys going to, sorry, Chris, I'm taking over your show. How are you going to push this to your staff?
He let us on here. It's just a takeover at this point.
No, he's done. It's been a week for him.
We're both tech coaches at high schools in the same district. So I'm at a high school with like 2,800 kids. So I have a staff of 180 teachers that I'll go back and I'll share stuff with through PD, emails, conversations, coaching, things like that.
Same.
So how receptive are your teachers going to be to now more PD on top of their day?
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Is that everything for teachers right now, it's been 6 years for me in this position since I've been in the classroom. And I wish you guys could see my dog licking the bottom of the microphone. That's the hard part, is everything for teachers right now is just one more thing, so it's kind of like, I feel a little bit like I'm a salesman, where I have to say, like, I know you're doing a million things. I know none of this is new or normal or any of those things. And I think what we have to try and do a good job at, and I hope that the sessions that I attend this week help me with the ability to say, okay, here's I know you have a million things. There's the dog. That's good. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's not that convenient. Is that here's something that it is one more thing, but we can save time here, or we can make this more accessible, or we can find a way to, one of our colleagues, Billy, always refers to it as talk to a teacher about what they would do in a classroom in a normal situation. And then how can you replicate that as close as you can, or transform that to work in a virtual setting, right? So like our school district right now is still, for the high school at least, is still virtual only, except for a few kids. So how can we take, that class activity and transfer it to this? So my hope for ISTE was that I was going to find things that that help me do that transfer of, okay, here's a normal, whatever normal is or was, and move that towards this will work in a virtual setting.
Yeah, I am not throwing any new PD at people because that's just too much. We have asynchronous Mondays in our district. So every Monday I hold a session called Make It Work Monday, and where whatever the things from the week before that I heard a lot of, or whatever the predominant issues that teachers need to hear right now, that's what I do that Monday. And so whatever I've heard this week can contribute to those lessons or the answers for those coming weeks, but there's not going to be any, hey, come hear what I learned at ISTE. No, there's no time for that.
I appreciate that, because I'm a school leader, and I'm trying to send my emails with kid gloves, so it's not one more thing. So I appreciate you guys having that approach to helping your staff and not just putting more on their plates, and not saying, here's one more thing I learned in 5 days of trainings and PD. So kudos to you guys.
No. I think our role in our district's called instructional tech coach, but we also talk a lot about that this year we should be renamed instructional tech counselor, because our job is just becoming a lot more counseling and, holding, virtual hands this year more than ever.
I'm advocating for the instructional technology bartender. Because you've got to be a good listener, and well, sometimes you get thirsty.
That's true.
Let me ask you both this. So you said that, and I'm in agreement. What you take away from this week, you can't immediately show up on Monday morning, December 7th, and say, "Hey, guess what I got?" But there had to be something or some things this week that you can start to integrate and help your teachers. So what might one or two of those things be that you could start to talk about?
I think for me, the biggest thing is just, and this is a non-answer, Chris, is that for all of the things we do, that there is a way around. I think that's the hard part for teachers right now, is that it's not, you can't just say like, oh, I learned everything there is to know about Nearpod and this will fix everything. Like there is no technology silver bullet right now. So, if you're a second grade teacher or a 12th grade government teacher or whatever, like I guess I see our job right now is to be sort of like a Swiss Army knife of tech tools or strategies. And so for me, I don't know if it's one specific thing. I think I'm just trying to broaden my own expertise. It's funny, in making some of the resources for the presentations that I gave this week, my Padlet skills went way up, and how I thought of that as a tool in the classroom went way up. And so sort of just preparing for my own presentations, I'm then thinking, like, I literally last night at, like, I guess technically East Coast time, it was this morning when Billy and I were finishing the stuff that we were going to do today. I emailed two teachers, and not at that time. I'm a big fan of send later options in email. So on at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, they'll get emails from me of like, hey, we need to talk about how you could do this. I have a teacher right now who wants to host a debate in her class, and getting kids to unmute and turn their cameras on is, it's a challenge that nobody learned about that in teacher school, right? So I think I have an answer for her, a way around from that, just from creating my own Padlet, so I don't know if it's one session, but I think it's more of just a broadening of my own comfort level and expertise in different things that allows me to kind of get in with teachers and find out this teacher can use that or that teacher can use this.
Yeah, I agree. Like also just like a broad range of, ideas to bring to them when they need them. But I came into the week hoping to look at some design thinking topics and leadership topics. And so I attended some great sessions on those, but those are like, year out, let's look at next school year topics, but just kind of get my brain thinking of how to implement those ideas when things start to get closer to normal.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah, sure.
Normal, so subjective, like a teacher evaluation.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like how I'm not a school leader in that capacity, but how do you evaluate something like that you've never done? Like it's gotta be super hard.
I will be transparent. My vice principal, we have a VP who oversees social studies in my high school, and she's told us repeatedly, she goes, I have to do the evaluations. And she's basically, without saying, said, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't be doing this. So she's like, how am I supposed to evaluate you doing something I have obviously never done? Mm-hmm. And there is no, you've got like an amended version of what Danielson is or Marzano to use these evaluation tools, which aren't evaluation tools anyway, but that's a whole nother episode. Has basically said, if I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't. And I'm going to make the best of what an observation is. So we'll see how that goes when I get my first one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's nonsense. I'll tell you right now, I have to do it. And I did one hybrid where there were 3 students in the classroom and everybody else was online. So what am I looking for? I wasn't online. I was looking at the classroom aspect of it. So I'm like, oh, these kids are working, I guess. She's like, turn and talk. And they turn their desk with the shield and they're talking to each other. I'm like, I can't hear a word y'all saying. You have masks on and you have a shield in front of you. But I have my first actual virtual observations this week. So we'll see how that goes. At least that one, you can kind of sit back. I feel like that's easier. You can kind of sit back and just watch things unfold. And it's like a classroom, just not live.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Now it is not too often that when I do the live stream, I get people who have nice setups and have good gear. So clearly, and Dan, you did a session on podcasting today. You guys have nice gear, you podcast. So why don't you talk a little bit about your podcast?
We Katie and I, and then 2 other colleagues of ours, Billy and Biz, we all knew each other and worked in the same district, but it's a district of about almost 100,000 students. So, people as much as you can. And then at ISTE, in Philly, actually a year and a half ago, we it was just one of those things where we had lunch one day and then we had dinner one day and then all these things. And then we created a Facebook group just to kind of, we wanted to send less emails to our staff. It literally was born out of that. And
we wanted to get to the people that are on Facebook, which is a different demographic than the teacher Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Different demographic. Sure. Teacher Twitter and Facebook Twitter, and teacher Facebook, 2 totally different places. Mm-hmm. So we create this Facebook group, and then the pandemic happens, and there was this sort of opportunity for us, at least in our district, of like a vacuum that existed that we could fill. And so we've been working through that. And then about, like 6-7 weeks ago, we're like, it's getting hard to just, come up with like a weekly newsletter, and who has time to read email? And we all listen to podcasts because we're nerd junkies and can't get enough of whatever. Like my podcast library is the oddest place in the world of the things that I listen to. And so we just started saying like, let's just take our newsletter and turn it into a podcast. And so we created the ITCs for All podcast, where we try to tackle push in a direction, an issue, or something that we feel like is coming up commonly in our group. And it's been a lot of fun. It for me, it's almost like PD for myself. Like just I'm very fortunate, and I'm not just saying this because she's here. Katie and Biz and Billy are three of the best professionals that I've ever been around. And so for me, I feel like every session we have, one, it's fun and it's almost like therapeutic. Like we joke and we talk. And at this point, like they know my kids because my kids are in, it's 11 p.m. So no kids are here now, but my kids are in every Zoom I'm in all day long. But it's nice for us. I feel like the feedback, my mom loves the podcast. That's important. But it's been
she's one of our best listeners.
She really does. She's a loyal listener. Chris, she'll be listening to yours now because I'll be like, Mom, I was on a podcast last night. And she'll, oh, well, I will
start leaving comments. It's gonna be great.
Hello, Daniel's mom. Welcome. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's, it was a place for us to kind of get to people in a different way. I was listening to another on the playground today that we were a part of, that Billy and I were a part of, and just talking about podcasts. And I was thinking, through the pandemic, one of the things that I think has increased globally, or at least nationally in my small view of it, is people taking walks. There are more people out walking in my neighborhood than ever in my entire life, my memory. And I know when I walk, that's when I listen to my podcasts. So I think we're providing kind of like a way that, hey, you're taking a walk. Here's a 15-minute thing you can do while you're taking your walk.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing it for probably a year before we actually started. But it is on Anchor, so you're going to judge us, Chris.
You're not allowed to. Don't worry about that. I'm trying to delete that stigma from his mind.
Hey, here's what I give anybody credit for. I'm all about hitting record and putting your voice out there.
Yeah.
So for people there are far more people who never do that. So I give credit where credit's due to people who push record and put their content and share their voice, share their message. That's really all I can ask of anybody. So shut up, AJ.
And you also mentioned our fancy gear. So we really do need to give Billy a shout out about that, because one evening before we started recording, he just showed up outside my house with his mask on, and Santa Billy was here with microphones and all the good stuff. So
that's how I got my stuff too. Santa Nessie.
Yeah.
it's important.
Podcast on my headphones.
Yeah, it's important to have friends that are gear snobs, because they'll point you in the right direction for all the things.
Nice. Well, it is 11 o'clock, and while I know that it's time shifted and I can go as long as I want, it is 11 o'clock East Coast. So before we say goodbye, first, Katie, Dan, let us know again the name of your podcast, where people can find it, and how people can connect with you.
Yeah, you can connect with us everywhere at ITCs for All. So ITCsforall.com, ITCs for All on Twitter, anchor.fm/ITCs for All, or any of your podcast apps, look for ITCs for All.
Anchor does a hell of a job distributing that for us, so we don't have to worry about it.
And Katie, how can people connect with you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at KatieF. I'm an early adopter. I've had it since 2007, so I got my name. Yeah, that's probably the best way.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Numero, like MR and then numero, like Spanish for number. I was a math teacher, and my kids, my class, my students picked my name and thought it numero sounded like numero, and they were all hilarious. And I'm too far down that rabbit hole to undo it. So.
Nice. And AJ, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Twitter, Instagram at AJ Bianco, LinkedIn, Facebook, AJ Bianco. Catch me on the podcast side at Podcast PD, Reflect Ed Podcast, and for the Yankee Fix, Chase for 28 podcast.
I'm in for that. Go Yanks.
Yes.
Nice. Chasefor28.com. All right. So this wraps up a very fun week for me. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure to live stream every night of ISTE. AJ, to answer your question even more, that's one thing I learned and got better at was getting online, doing the stream, monitoring the chat, producing, directing, writing. I got to work on the jokes, but that'll come with time. Coming up on Future House of Ed Tech, December 6th, episode 169 comes out. Derek Larson is in the host chair for the final time as a solo act, filling in for me for a few months. And he's talking with Katie McNamara, a high school librarian from California. She's a big to-do in the library world out in California and nationwide. So tune in for that. And then coming up on December 20th, episode 170, the big 2020 House of Ed Tech App Smackdown. What a way to finish this year and get it behind us. And then I'll be co-hosting that episode with Derek. And then I will be back full-time sometime in January as we march through 2020. And before you know it, we'll be doing ISTE again. So that's all I got. Wave goodbye, everybody. Thank you for coming out in the chat. Super fun to connect with new people. And we'll see you soon. And there's a break in the audio file. So we're still live. People can still see us and hear us. But everything we say now doesn't make it into the episode.
Thanks for bringing us on, Chris. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking out your podcast. It popped up in my magical spreadsheet earlier today, so I will be checking it out.
Oh, yeah. You think Dan did that?
Yeah. Things happen between 11 and 1 a.m. on ISTE week when we're just doing random things.
You get crazy ideas, but no, I'm looking forward to it. That's part of the reason I when I came into your session, I'm like, wait, these names sound awfully familiar. And I said, oh, okay, all right. Let me really pay attention. And I like the session. A lot of fun, a lot of energy. I didn't look at any of the slides, so I kept clicking the I want to see you guys button in the, I don't know if you could see the front facing display, but I just kept watching you. I didn't care about the slides.
That was one thing that was interesting, virtual ISTE, the different platforms that we were presenting on. It was, I never knew. We tried to go to a couple playgrounds and creative labs so we could see what it looked like from the participant perspective. But when you're in the presenter side, it's very bizarre. It's like right now there could be thousands of people watching us and it feels like just the four of us in a Zoom together. It's a different experience for sure.
Definitely. Now, I am a fan of the lo-fi chill hop. I did mention that.
Oh,
Dan,
man.
was that your choice or was that your co-host choice?
No, that is not my choice. That is Billy Watts. And the fact that you said you're a fan and he's not here right now, he's gonna be super sad and then super happy at the same time. Like, oh, people like it. But Katie's been converted though. Don't let her hide about it.
I love the chill hop. I'm not going to deny it. I love it. I just found a chill, like a lo-fi Christmas station, and I'm like, yes.
God.
Yes.
Yup.
I'm a fan of I play like Harry Potter like film scores and stuff. That's more my speed. But Billy calls me an infant when I do things like that. So I'm not in charge. I'm not allowed to be in charge of music.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's all right.
Well, we all have our jobs, right? Like that's just not mine.
Also want to extend an invitation for you guys and obviously everybody in the chat too. AJ, Stacy, and I, we do podcast PD and we do it live like this. So we'll be doing it tomorrow night, not at 10 o'clock at night. We'll be live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, a more manageable hour. And we have some fun and we'd love to have you guys come out, participate in the chat. Come on. We're still working out the topic, but you're two very intelligent people. We'd love to have you be a part of the conversation, whatever it winds up being.
Oh, you haven't hung out with us long enough yet, but okay.
I mean, I can certainly just make stuff up. Like that's fine.
Right.
Like,
That's what we do all the time.
Yeah.
No, if I can smother my kids to bed before then, yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah, very cool. Rook, I just want to make sure. Let's see. Let's check the chat. If you're still here in the chat, it looks like 5 people are still hanging out. Thank you so much. If you're not subscribed to all of these podcasts, please go subscribe and support your local podcaster. And if you find value from podcasts you listen to, go tell somebody else. Word of mouth, best way to share the podcast love. Email your favorite podcaster, tweet them. So if you liked what I'm doing, let me know. If you listen to what Katie and Dan are doing and their co-hosts, email them, tell them, let them know. Just don't rate and review it. Email them, tweet them, tell them how much you love the content. Email AJ, check out Reflect Ed, all that good stuff. So,
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Do we even have any reviews, Dan?
I can ask my mom to.
Yeah, you
review
need
the
to get her on
podcast.
that. Yeah.
Don't worry about ratings and reviews. They don't do anything.
Make it feel good.
That's why I had no idea if we had them. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes our podcast is just an exercise in like group therapy for us.
That's what many podcasts are. So
Which, if that's what it is, I'm in for it. It's working. Like I feel great.
AJ and I feel good after we do podcast PD. I feel great whenever I record an episode of my show. It's just like, I got something out of my head and out into the world,
Yep.
No doubt.
whatever that might be.
Well, listen, you just picked up a subscriber on both of them. I'm in on Podcast PD and House of Ed Tech now, so we're in.
Nice. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, guys. I got to run.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
It's late night snack time. Thank you,
Yeah.
Katie.
Bye.
Take it easy. I'll be in
Nice
touch.
meeting you guys.
Okay. We'll see you soon. Bye.
All right, Ness. I'm gonna jump out too.
All right. I'm hanging up. I'm saying goodbye. Thanks everybody. chrisnessie.com/go. Thanks for listening.
See you.
Peace.
Peace.